Hi, so today for my video reflection, I'm going to be talking about Chapter 3, which deals with adolescent diversity as related to socioeconomic status and ethnicity. So I'm going to be talking about three things out of the many ideas talked about in the chapter. These three things are the role of socioeconomic status, the cycle of poverty, and the discrimination felt by minorities. So to begin, socioeconomic status from the readings, from my understanding, has a profound effect on all people. I know in the readings it stated that it cuts across racial and ethnic boundaries. So the biggest things I found is that socioeconomic status has a profound effect on adolescents. For example, poverty can limit education and career attainment for students. So a low socioeconomic status translate into poverty for that adolescent. Now, what we find when we look at this is that this all develops into a cycle of poverty. And in this cycle of poverty, what we see, according to the readings, is that the individual, because he has a low income, this translates into a low standard of living. Now, as a result, what we see is that the individual can't control the outside external environment which he lives in. Ultimately, the individual basically translates negative feelings of powerlessness onto his adolescent child. In turn, the adolescent child basically is socialized to feel that low education and living conditions are a part of his natural life. And it's hard for him to escape this cycle or break away from it because this is what he's grown up around. Now, because of how he feels and because of the poverty he's in, adolescents who are who live in poverty are more likely to be susceptible to such things as high pregnancy, low student achievement, and instability within the family. So as you can see, it's very hard for the adolescent and for people in general to break out of this cycle of poverty. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the discrimination felt by minorities. So, in my experience, one of the things that really hit home for me was that minorities, and I mean, the readings talked about that African Americans felt discrimination, but even minorities today still feel discrimination some way or form. I know myself, speaking about myself, I'm a minority, and I know I felt discrimination. I can remember one time coming home from college, and I took my brother to get some electronic device that he needed to fix something at home, and we went to some well-recognized store, and my brother went to the electronics section. I was somewhere else in the store, and about maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes later, he comes back to me and he said, "Armando, some guy is looking at me strange." And I didn't really think nothing about it, but then I kind of thought, that sounds kind of weird. So I went down there and I basically saw that the clerk was basically looking at him because he thought that he was going to steal something. And I confirmed this when I asked him. He basically told me that we had had reports that Hispanic, Latino kids have been stealing stuff from this section. And then I told him, "Why aren't you looking? You should be also." And I told him that my brother's not going to steal anything. He's there to buy something. And then I told him those other three, and there were three other kids in that section that he was paying no attention to, which were all white Caucasian children. And basically, I went to the store manager. I told him what was happening, and basically what was happening is that my brother was getting racially profiled. Of course, the store manager and the clerk, or the store manager, didn't do anything about it. So I was proactive, and I wrote a letter to the company. And not more than a week later, I got a response saying, this is not indicative of our business practices. We did not condone this. And then I found out that the manager and the individual were fired. But I wasn't really looking for that. I was mostly looking that, I really felt, and I know my brother felt that, we were treated like second class citizens. And that being said, um, what really hurt was the fact that it happened right in my own backyard. I never thought that I would be um, discriminated against at home. And it happened not more than 5-10 minutes from where we live. And I've never really had an incident like that happen to me within my own area where I lived at. I mean, that sure it's happened to me in other areas, but it really hurts when that happens. And I know from my brother and from me, um, it was something that was very eye opening. So that's my video reflection, and thank you.